The HBCU Sports Podcast coming to you in 3, 2. Yeah. We are back once again. This is another edition of the HBCU Sports Podcast. I'm Kenn Rashad. He's Jeff Duplessis.
That's me.
This is episode 8. Is 8, right? Is it 8? I think this is episode 8.
Number 8.
Number 8.
Yes. Yeah, that would be correct.
We're going to call this the, what can we call this? We'll call this one the
Championship Review Preview.
Championship Review Preview. All right. And we're going to go ahead and put in a little mixture of, Duer Sharp and Martez Carter and a couple of other little interesting tidbits that took place earlier this week. Once again, thank you all to the HBCU Sports Podcast. Before we move any further, let's go over a few formalities here. In case you aren't following us, you can find us on Spreaker.com. You can go to Spreaker.com, type in HBCU Sports, and that will automatically take you to the official HBCU Sports Podcast page on Spreaker. And while you're there, do us the favor, follow us. By doing so, you will automatically be informed of any and all new episodes that are uploaded to the Spreaker platform. We also ask that you take a moment to go to our official website at hbcusports.com/podcast, which you will also be able to find an archive of all the previous episodes. But this is a donation-based podcast, and we ask that you please take a moment to go to that page and make a contribution to the website through the website for the podcast. It does take time, does take money, and if you find this podcast of interest, entertaining, or to some degree informative, we ask that you show your appreciation by making a small donation to the cause.
Or even if it upsets you, still donate. Because we're not above being trying to be to start a little trouble sometimes.
If it makes you mad, maybe, who knows, they can probably pay us to go away, huh?
There you go. I'll take that.
So, we are also on various social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter at Real HBCU Sports. You can follow yours truly at Kenn, Kenn Rashad, and you can follow Jeff Duplessis at JMO700. That's JAYMO, the number 700 on Twitter. And we're also on Facebook and all of the other mainstream social media websites. So by all means, please take a moment to follow us and, again, continue to make contributions to the podcast if you would. We would greatly appreciate it. So with all that said, Jeff, the SWAC Championship Game it's done.
It's in the record books.
And man, it was quite a game.
It was quite a game. I think surprising. If you ask most football fans, and especially Grambling fans, they would say they didn't see that happening. Although the Tigers did win, it was a lot closer than many expected.
Yeah, it's this particular contest, and it's funny. Going back a week prior, the Bayou Classic was the hyped up game, and turns out that it wasn't much of a game because Grambling dominated that game. But then when you get to this particular contest, the narrative had been, well, you've got this powerhouse in Grambling versus this 5-5 Alcorn team that has been struggling with injuries throughout a good part of the season.
Yeah, and
man, the Braves came to play. 17-0 lead at the end of the first half, and it was just we hear this all the time, talking about games being a tale of two halves, but man, if there was ever such a a true description of a ball game, this was truly it.
Yeah, no, kudos goes out to the Braves. Coach McNair, he had them ready to play. They were prepared. They came to win and to get to that Celebration Bowl. That was their goal. And that first half, and even into the second half, they played a spirited game. They were tough. They were resilient. Grambling had to have a little luck on their side also to come away with a victory. Yeah,
Jay Walker made, I think, probably the best comment of that entire game, and this happened on a number of occasions, where he said, in Grambling's case, sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. That was the case when Verlin Hunter caught that first touchdown, which was in a sense where, he wasn't open, but he was able to make a play on the ball that allowed the Tigers to score that first touchdown. And then, of course, I think the play of the game, if you can call it a play, was the open receiver in the end zone for Alcorn, who, unfortunately, if he caught that ball, that touchdown pass, the outcome could have been completely different. And what makes that particular situation even more what makes it stand out even more is the fact that he had a drop pass earlier in the game that just, for whatever reason, it just wasn't his day, man. It wasn't his day.
Yeah, and Ken, unfortunately, that young man got a lot of pushback on social media, and I tried to defend him best I could, but I saw people talking about him as the reason why they lost. This is a young man. He's a young kid. First of all, he's a converted offensive lineman to tight end, so I don't think pass catching is his greatest asset. But he tried. He made a couple of mistakes. It happens. He's young. He'll bounce back from it.
Yeah.
That's a tough break on that young man.
Yeah. Number 86, Michael Ajumobi, is the player that we're discussing. And I believe he's a redshirt freshman here out of Dallas, South Grand Prairie High School. And now, and the thing is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was playing with a cast on his hand. And he was playing with a cast on his hand, and and I've even heard some say, well, if I were the coach, no way would I have thrown that ball to him with a cast on his hand. And I'm guessing, you know what, man, I'm sure he practiced that play had to have been they had to have practiced that play, and I'm guessing that probably the results in practice were positive enough to the point to where there was really no reason to think that they couldn't run that play.
Right.
And this was just one of those situations where, man, he couldn't get it done. And you can make a pretty good point that it may have been, the play that may have sealed Alcorn's fate, because at that point, that drive was, the one thing that Kendrick Marshall highlighted in an article that he wrote before the game earlier that week was the only way Alcorn would be able to win this game is if they control the ground, control the clock, limit Grambling to possessions, the limit of offensive possessions, and literally run the ball efficiently. And they did that. And when the time presented itself to strike to go to the air, and that one play, man, it couldn't get it done.
I have to give a shout out to the Alcorn offensive staff. They had that well scouted. They had it well prepared. It's just that the execution did not happen as they had hoped. But it was there. It should have been one touchdown and one completion for sure. And unfortunately, the execution didn't happen, but it was a well-conceived and thought-out play. And I'm sure, like you said, it was successful probably all week in practice. Just that it's one thing when you're in practice, and then when you got the lights of 30,000 people looking at you in a NFL stadium, that kind of weighs on a young man sometimes. Yeah. So I mean, but look, to you Alcorn folks out there and the folks out there on social media, man, give that brother a break. I'm sure he didn't go in there with the intention on purposely trying to drop a drop pass, and it's just. I didn't know if it was that big of a deal to to folks who complained, but it's unfortunate if that were the case. But other key moments in the game, and we would have to talk about the performance of Martez Carter. And my goodness, talk about a player who
was able to redeem himself in the game. I mean, after that fumble, the opening drive, the Tigers fumble, it was a Martez Carter fumble that prevented Grambling from scoring that first drive. And, man, you talk about somebody who was able to redeem himself quick in a hurry.
He did. He had a big game, 2 big games in a row. He had a big game in the Classic also. But 344 all-purpose yards Carter racked up.
Yeah.
136 rushing. He had also had a 73-yard kickoff return that set up a Groundling's first score in the second half to kind of get him out that 17-0 funky hole they were in. So he ran hard. He ran smart. He ran. He was just tough and elusive. The first half fumble definitely hurt, and he almost had a second fumble.
Yeah,
that would have been devastating. But luckily, that fumbled at I guess that's about the 2-yard line, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Popped up and popped into his teammate's hand, who just stepped into the end zone and got credit for the score.
And additionally, the results obviously were favorable. That play made, I believe, I want to say it made SportsCenter's top 10 plays of the day or the week or whatever the case may be. And but that was a play that a number of mainstream outlets ran consistently during the weekend, which obviously worked out to his benefit. But kudos to Martez Carter, though, still, for being able to come up in the clutch, because that final drive, when he scored the game-winning touchdown, that was all him. And it was even revealed during the post-game press conference. Coach Fobbs indicated, and even he indicated, that they were going to continue to feed him the ball until, depending upon him to get the job done. And man, he has really come through for the Tigers all season long. But in the Bayou Classic and in the SWAC Championship game, he's been clutch.
No doubt. How they say that he has turned it up in the last couple of games, as they say, right, Ken? Is that how it goes? Turned it up? Indeed. But you know what? Couple of other intangibles I think we need to talk about. The game obviously was probably one of the better games that we've seen as it relates to SWAC Championship games. I mean, I think about the ending of the Jackson State Southern game. Obviously, last year's game wasn't much of a contest where Alcorn beat Grambling, but the Southern Jackson State game was a pretty good game. Southern and Alcorn played some pretty decent matchups, but this clearly was probably one of the better SWAC Championship games that I can remember in recent history. But now there was something to be said, and this was also something that was talked about ad nauseum, and justifiably or unjustifiably so. Excuses are always come into play. The attendance. This is always a huge. This is always been a for HBCU fans who follow HBCU football and so forth. This is always a great topic of debate as it relates to key matchups, whether it be classics, whether it be championship games, or whatever it may be. There's always something to be said about attendance. And when people look at these two teams, with all that was on the line, comparing this year's attendance, I believe was something like 25,000 plus. I don't know what the exact number was. Compare that to last year, where you had a crowd of over 40,000 people. Same teams. There were some who made the excuse, well, Grambling fans didn't show up. Alcorn fans, obviously outnumber Grambling fans, which is true. And that was the case for both years. But there was something to be said for the reasons why the SWAC Championship game this year was drastically different from last year. I think there's multiple reasons why, Kenn. I don't think you could put a finger on one reason. I think it came down to economics in some cases. I think excitement and motivation. Alcorn, although they were in the championship game, they were a 5-4 ball club, so they weren't like the juggernaut they had been the last couple of years. So maybe that tamped down a little bit of their crowd. And then Grambling just came off a big Bayou Classic. I think some of the fans might have been looking a little ahead of the game, looking at the Celebration Bowl, and that can be a huge economic burden on people to, say, travel to New Orleans and to Houston and possibly to Atlanta. it's not smart to think that way, but that's human nature. And I think weather played a little bit of a role too. It was kind of damp, kind of wet, kind of bad weather that whole weekend in Houston. So I think those three things, it's a safe bet that all three of them had some role in a smaller crowd than has been previously.
Now I'm gonna tell you this, and this goes without saying. That there are going to be a number of people who are going to listen to this and they're going to say, you know what, those guys are two Grambling homers, simply trying to make excuses for the Grambling Knights and the reasons why they didn't show. And I want to make this clear. No one's making excuses. No one is making excuses for why Grambling Knights didn't show. That is not what the purpose of this discussion is about. Because again, and I made this clear previously, nobody's disputing the fact that Alcorn folks outnumbered the Grambling folks. We get that. That was the case last year. But there is something to be said for the fact that 40,000 last year, 25,000 this year. Alcorn folks outnumbered Grambling folks last year. Alcorn folks outnumbered Grambling folks this year. So what does that tell you? That also tells me, granted, not as many Grambling people came this year as was the case last year, but you know what? Not as many Alcorn folks showed up this year as last year. And so I wonder why that is. And again, 9-1 Grambling, 5-5 Alcorn State.
Right.
Who wants to see a championship game that's going to feature a 5-5 SWAC East Division opponent? I mean, it's that simple. Yeah, there is something to be said about the fact that you had Grambling folks that spent a ton of money in New Orleans the week before. I am one of them. I'm not going to say how much, but I spent a lot of money going to New Orleans the week before. And there is something to be said for those who were probably trying to hedge their bets and saying, you know what, I'm not going to Houston. I like our chances of going to Atlanta, so guess what? I'm going to save my money and I'm going to go to Atlanta. And I'm thinking that may be the case, and that, what the result of that will be, we don't know. Too early to tell at this point. But I am thinking that Grambling Knights will do quite nicely in Atlanta this year, given everything that's on the line. So I just want to make that clear because people want to. Granted, you can say what you will about Grambling folks and being finicky as it relates to supporting certain games and so forth. I still think there are a number of intangibles that people don't necessarily don't associate with or won't accept, and that's fine. But everything isn't just about not necessarily wanting to support an event or a team. That's not the case here.
Yeah, and no excuses. I have been critical of Grambling fans in the past, and I will continue to be critical of them when they don't show up as I think they should show up, and I'm counting myself in that. So, but yeah, I think it was, like I said earlier, I think it was just several reasons why it might have been a bad turnout on both sides of the sideline. So it wasn't just Grambling, it wasn't just Alcorn. I think it was both of them was down, and when you got both teams having less support, the overall attendance is going to be down, and that's what we had. We had 25 this year. We had over 40 last year. So it's cyclical. Hopefully next year it won't be that way. Hopefully next year the East, and I'm not criticizing Alcorn. Hopefully the East will have a better, more something to get their fans more juiced up. If they're 8-2 and and the West is 8-2, then maybe you got something in that neighborhood. Instead of just a 500 ball club. That always gets people more motivated and more ready to for a battle.
Right. So just those are fair points. Again, I think overall it was just simply a matter of matchups and people not necessarily being that intrigued with this matchup, and I put that out there because let's do away with the music for a moment, because I brought the issue up regarding attendance, because as you and I talked about, we had planned that we were going to talk about the SWAC Championship Game, and that we were also going to take quite a bit of time to discuss SWAC Commissioner Duer Sharp, who has all right, who has in the past, I don't know, just in the past couple of weeks, as we have witnessed, there have been a number of things. Man, turn that thing down. Who was that? Was that your Skype account?
No, that's not me.
Anyway.
Come on, let's go. What about Duer? What about Duer?
So anyway,
what did he do now?
Well, that question should be, what did he do and what did he not do? So let's talk about the SWAC Championship game, okay? And I'm sorry. Let's turn the music up because I want to play this audio clip. Kudos to my man Charles Edmond, who we know very well, who is also a Gramblinite, by the way. The one criticism that I've had about Duer Sharp, among the many, but just one in particular, is that Duer is notorious for when the time comes that he's willing to do an interview, he will only do it with a select group of people. He's not going to do it with me. He's not going to do it with a number of commentators and journalists that I am aware of. He will speak with the big boys. He'll speak to ESPN. He'll speak to the other major networks. And guess what? He will also speak with Charles Edmond. And kudos to Charles Edmond, who has a personality that is rather soothing and calming. But the man knows when he has the opportunity to speak to Duer Sharp that there are going to be some issues that are going to be addressed. And kudos to Charles Edmond for being able to bring these issues to light, because he knows what he knows what those of us who follow the SWAC have, the questions that we have. He knows what people are thinking about. He knows what they're talking about. And my saying has always been the best type of fan is an educated fan. And I think that there have been times where the SWAC has had the opportunity to be front and center to educate the fans on certain decisions that are made that affect the conference, certain decisions, or should I say why those decisions were made and so forth. But Duer's favorite comment is it's up to the leadership, or that's what the presidents voted. And I think sometimes some of these decisions require just a little bit more explanation. So again, kudos to my man Charles Edmond, who had an opportunity to interview Duer Sharp at the SWAC Championship press conference, and he talked to him in particular. And I want to set this up. Charles Edmond, and we're going to look at this in two parts. Charles Edmond had a chance to talk to Duer Sharp about the new 7-game mandate. Some people call it the 7-game mandate, or the 7-game scheduling format that's going to be going into effect next year. And if you recall, the last time this format was put into place, it was some years ago. It was a mess in terms of teams who, you had those games that were considered conference games, but then for whatever reason, you had a number of ADs who decided to go ahead and contact other conference members to schedule non-conference games. So that created quite a bit of confusion, not necessarily for those of us who follow these the SWAC teams, but it actually, I remember going to ESPN and a number of mainstream websites where they would always post the conference standings. And you would see, well, they would automatically assume if Grambling and Jackson State played, which they played during that one time, and the game did not count in the conference standings. But when you go to these mainstream websites, you'll see where those games counted. And before you know it, you've got the conference standings at the end of the season, and the games are lopsided, where you can see where some conference teams played 8, some played 9 conference games, and you're like, what just happened here? So I just kind of want to put that out there and listen to.
So Ken, let me ask you this. So previously, when they had the 7-game schedule, that was the case. So now they're going to go back to it starting next year. So you're saying they didn't make the amendments to not allow that to happen again?
Well, I tell you what. Let's listen to this. Okay.
Okay.
Let's listen to the reason why the 7-game scheduling format was put into place. Listen to this. This is Charles Edmond interviewing SWAC Commissioner Duer Sharp.
Games next season, and already people
are. Let's go ahead and rewind that. Okay. Sorry. Just give it another try.
With the Eastern Division, with the Braves winning it with the record that they wanted, folks on social media saying, you had a potentially, and we were 5-4 as it turned out, but we had won the division the week before. If we didn't beat Jackson State, we would have been 4-5. And all of a sudden, folks are saying, "Oh man, you got a 4-5 team representing the East, playing for a championship." And then if Southern had, been in this game, you don't win that game, then the records going into the final game, the Celebration Bowl. A lot of folks talk about that, but what in the heck can you do about that?
Nothing. I mean, we did the best we could. I thought the ADs and SWAs did a great job with going to 7 games. So now there's an opportunity where those teams may have not played each other. Right now it's always a rematch because everybody plays everybody. Yeah. But I think moving forward, when you go to that 7, just imagine somebody being 8-1, both teams being 8-1, and they haven't played each other.
Yeah.
That's what the excitement is. When you see those other leagues, when you see Big Ten, like Wisconsin, Penn State play tomorrow, they haven't played each other.
Yeah.
But they're both 10-2.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at that, we have that capability. We have that potential to have 2 highly ranked teams who haven't played each other all year. And that's where you get to 50,000. That's where you get 55,000, 60,000, when people haven't played and you don't know who's going to win that game.
All right. So there's Duer Sharp providing the scenario, a ideal scenario for why the 7-game mandate would be relevant, how it would be beneficial to the SWAC, and the additional benefits that would come out of it because of the SWAC Championship Game and the intrigue that it would build, and the possibility of 2 teams that did not play during the regular season to potentially play in the SWAC Championship Game. Make sense to you?
Yeah, if that's a situation, like you said, it'll be an ideal situation. But what's the chance of that happening every year?
But right. But I understand. There's always that chance where you would have some regular season, during the regular season, the 2 teams that end up meeting in the SWAC Championship Game may have possibly played against each other during the regular season from the scheduled from the conference schedule. That is very true, very possible. But there is the possibility for 2 teams not to play who did not have played. Who may not have played earlier in the season. And so he brings up the scenario of Penn State and Wisconsin, who did play in the Big Ten championship. And for those who don't know, Duer went to Wisconsin. He is a Big Ten guy, came from the Big Ten conference, as a matter of fact. But, so, I mean, yeah, so that right there was I thought a brilliant, a pretty good explanation of why the 7-game mandate could be beneficial, in addition to the fact that there were a number of ADs who wanted to have a little bit more flexibility in scheduling out-of-conference, non-conference games. And for those of you who really follow the SWAC, or, that the greater issue or the larger issue with this is that the perception that, not that the teams in the SWAC compete for at-large bids into the FCS playoffs, but in the event that these teams don't make it to the Celebration Bowl or to the SWAC Championship Game, there's always that outside chance that they could get an at-large bid based upon the body of work and their non-conference schedule. And thus it gives us an opportunity to play, stronger FCS teams. Cause again, we are the little bitty old weak SWAC, and we're not worthy of being discussed when it comes to, teams being ranked in the top 25. And if we do, it's only going to be maybe 1 or 2 teams at most. You're not going to get 3 and 4 teams like a lot of these other conferences might. So that is all the reasons. For those of you who may not be aware of the reasons why we went to the 7-game scheduling process, those are the reasons why majority of the schools voted to go this route. So not everyone, but some did. So
with that being said, and after listening to the explanation that Duer gave for the benefit of the 7-game mandate, listen to this.
Well, absolutely. And then you talked about the 7 games next season, and already people are talking about it. Who are the 3 on the other side? Alcorn's 3, and that's Prairie View, that's Grambling and Southern, in addition to the 4 on your side.
Exactly.
And people are confused, at least at this point. And I said this. I told my buddy Carlos Brown this, and I'm serious. I think folks like us, people who cover the SWAC on a daily basis, we can either contribute to the 7 games understanding going forward, or we can, if we don't educate folks, we can contribute to its confusion.
Well,
because right now people are kind of confused as to which game count. We play Texas Southern next year. It doesn't count in the 7.
Right.
But, so all of that is still stirring around here, and we got a year away before we implement it.
Well, see, I think that will help with that. The conference office will help with that. But I think that was my concern when you start confusing people. When people go, why would we play Texas Southern? Does the Texas Southern game count?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But we'll make it easy for everybody to understand. And Edgar Gant and, Wes Crockett and my staff, they'll do a great job of just, kind of formatting that schedule to make it easy to read so they know the games that do count on the conference schedule and those that don't.
With the
unbelievable. Now, you say he's a Wisconsin guy, Big Ten guy. Is there a situation in the Big Ten where a team plays another team and doesn't count in the conference?
Look, man. In the same interview, in one fell swoop, Duer Sharp gives us the perfect scenario why the 7-game mandate or the 7-game scheduling format is going to be what it is, and how it's going to be beneficial to the SWAC and the SWAC Championship Game. And in the same interview, seconds later,
blows it all up.
Because Alcorn State and Texas Southern decides that they are going to play a game next year. They are going to play a game that will not be two conference teams will be playing a non-conference game. There you go. Thank you for helping me with that. You literally just blew it up in a matter of seconds. And
why that happened,
Jeff, what makes it so bad is that he was aware of what the concerns would be going into. Charles explained it to him. You know what happened the last time we had this situation. You are aware of that. And then he even admits, well, yeah, we're going to do a great job to eliminate the confusion. And then he even goes so far as to say, well, I was concerned that this would be an issue, and well, damn it, I mean, you are the commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and you have these concerns, and yet you mean to tell me you don't have it within you to inform your presidents, to inform the ADs that you not only should it be a concern, it is not to be allowed.
Exactly. Now, don't worry about concerning them with them.
It shouldn't even be allowed.
That should be a mandate. That should be in the bylaws of the scheduling that should not be allowed. I have no problem with the 7-game schedule.
No, I don't. I
think that allows teams to be a little more
absolutely
flexible, to have more opponents on the FCS level.
I am for it. I am for the 7 games. Some say they wanted 8 games. That's fine. But my point is that this opens up. Yes, it is a good
Pandora's box.
Texas Southern scheduling Alcorn State opens up Pandora's box.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm telling you guys that for anyone who is listening to this, and look, the schedules aren't out yet. Do not allow your ADs to schedule other games. Now, here's what I know for a fact. I think Carlos Brown. I think you were on his show this past weekend.
Yeah.
And I think Carlos Brown went over the non-conference schedule for Southern. So I don't think that's going to be an issue with Southern in their lineup. Based upon what I've heard about Grambling, I think there's one more game that needs to be, I think, scheduled. And if I recall, I know President Rick Gallo, was trying to get a game scheduled with Jackson State. And at the time when I talked to him about that, I was thinking that this was something related to the 7-game scheduling in terms of where that game was going to be played. But now I'm being told that he was possibly considering that game, and I'll need to talk to Rick about this for clarification, that he was possibly considering playing Jackson State as a non-conference game. I don't know how true that is. I need to confirm that, but I will ask Brother Rick, please do not go down that route. That will create more confusion. I understand Jackson State being the traditional rival that it's been in the past, but it's not going to kill us to maybe go 1, maybe even 2 years without playing Jackson State when there are a plethora of other opportunities out there that would be beneficial to the school. So there is one other school, though. I've got a feeling. There are a couple of schools out there that I'm concerned that may go down this route. I got a feeling.
The ones with lazy ADs.
Well, yeah,
lazy administration.
Because right now, and I like Charles Mack, man. Charles Mack, he knows what he's doing. And that's all I'm going to say. But Charles Mack, I say this respectfully, brother, this is beneath you. This is beneath you. I don't know Derek Horn at Alcorn State. You didn't have to go down this route. You didn't do it when you were at Florida A&M. Why the hell would you wait to do it now? You didn't have to do this. You could have played. I'm sure there were a number of look, whether it be and I've heard some. Well, we don't know what the real reasons why. We don't. But you can't tell me that there wasn't anyone you could have you couldn't have played outside of someone in the SWAC. Whether it meant maybe using that date in question as a bye week versus using another date as a possible date. Look, there is no excuse for this. You can't. We are the only Division I conference in the country, FBS or FCS, who will allow our schools to play other conference schools as non-conference games. That is unheard of. And to be quite honest with you, it is ass backwards. And if that applies to you, and if you are the one who made that decision, then guess what? I'm not going to call you ass backwards, but it was surely an ass backwards decision. You don't do this.
How about just saying asinine decision?
It's ass backwards. I'm not calling it asinine. It's ass backwards. That makes no sense. Stop trying to be politically correct with me. It's ass backwards. You don't do this, man. You don't.
That's a bad setup.
You don't.
And the thing about it, the commissioner and the president could have easily put that additional language in there, and it would have been fine. It would have been good, and that's all they had to do. And I think it's probably too late for 2017, but I think you need to look at 2018 and put that language in there.
No. Actually, you know what? It's not too late. For you Texas Southern and Alcorn folks, it's not too late. The schedule hasn't been published yet. Schedules don't usually come out until around February, January, February, March, somewhere around that time. I've seen some schedules come out as late as April. You don't have to schedule this game. You don't. You do not have to go down this road. I'm telling you, this is not a good look. Look, and I get this. I want to make this clear. I understand the ADs have to do first and foremost what's in the best interest of the program. I get that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to be a member of the conference, and look, I get it. When this went to a vote, I understand that there were some schools that weren't for the 7-game format, and you have your own legitimate reasons for your program for not wanting to do it. I get it. But you know what? You are a member of this conference, and sometimes you get what you want. Sometimes you get what you don't want. But nevertheless, you got to roll with the punches if you're going to be a member, And so you can do what's in the best interest of your program without trying to give the conference the middle finger in the process. I mean, if nothing else, think about how it looks, not so much for the school, but if nothing else, think about how it looks how does it look for you? For people to have the perception of you. And and these are not my words. I've heard people say this on social media. That for those of you who are even considering the process of scheduling a game against a conference opponent that will be a non-conference game, you know what? They're calling you lazy. I saw one poster on the HBC Sports message board. He on the forums. He said he called it lazy and unimaginative.
Yes.
And truer words, those are very appropriate for this case. You cannot be this lazy to not want to go out and try to find somebody to schedule a game against. There is no excuse for that. Yeah, you got to do what's in the best interest of your program, but there is absolutely no excuse for going this low. None. And guess what? We're not finished with Duer Sharp. Because just when you didn't think it could get any worse, it did.
Wait, it got worse.
It got worse. Well, we got this thing called the Celebration Bowl coming up. And on, I believe it was, what's today? Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
The Celebration Bowl introductory team press conference basically was the official start to the countdown to the Celebration Bowl. And for the most part, it was what you would expect. Yeah, right. It was what you would expect. It was what you would expect from a press conference. You had, like you said, Coach Mack from North Carolina Central. You had Coach Fobbs from Grambling. You had a representative from the Air Force Reserve, who is the title sponsor for the Celebration Bowl. Right. and I think his name is John. Is it John Grant? Who is the executive director of the
bowl? Yeah,
of the bowl, and of course the great Sam Crenshaw, who you remember may have been previously the host of ESPN's what was that, the Black College HBCU. Dang it, I can't think about it. But anyway, the great Sam Crenshaw. He's always talking about the battle of the big cats. But anyway.
Right. I know you're talking about. I can't think of the show.
Sam, shout out to you, brother.
The battle of the big cats.
Yeah, the battle of the big cats. Yeah. But, I think it was HBCU Sports Today or something like that. I don't know. Sorry, Brother Crenshaw. I'm going to see you in Atlanta Saturday. And believe me, if you listen to this, my apologies for screwing it up. But, you were the man when you did that show. So, the perfect person to moderate the press conference. But, so everybody was there. Everybody who is somebody who is relevant to this particular bowl was there.
MEAC commissioner?
MEAC. Oh yeah. Dennis Thomas was there. But SWAC Commissioner Duer Sharp was a no-show.
No,
he was a no-show. Jeff, he didn't show up. And not only did he not show up, no one else from the SWAC showed up. The only representative of the SWAC that was there was Coach Fobbs and Will Sutton and whoever else was there officially with him. Those are the only people who were there.
But they're 2.5 hours from Atlanta, from Birmingham. Huh?
Jeff, nobody showed up. 2.5 hours away from Atlanta, nobody showed up.
Maybe they had a good excuse. They may have had a good excuse.
You know what? Look, and I want to be clear. I want to be fair here. Stuff happens. I get it. Duer Sharp being the head guy of the I mean, look, this is, I get it. Sometimes stuff comes up, emergencies come up, that's fine. But you mean to tell me you couldn't find anybody else to fill in for you? Edgar Gant, who is the associate commissioner, couldn't come in for you? Nobody could come in to represent the SWAC office for this event. This is the HBCU Super Bowl, if you will. This is the signature event for HBCU football.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a benefit of the doubt. Maybe they got lost in traffic around Atlanta. All those Peachtree streets kind of really screws with you sometimes. So maybe it was on Peachtree Plaza, should have been Peachtree Express or Peachtree Street. So
you know what?
It can really mess with your GPS.
Look, I know that's right.
So,
now look, now that's one thing about it. There is Peachtree Northeast, Peachtree Northwest, Peachtree Avenue. Look, man, my goodness, I get all that.
They love the teachers in Atlanta.
But no, man. Look, to the SWAC office. Look, I want to be fair about this. Like I said, I know stuff happens. It would be great if you could possibly issue out a statement. Let us know. Why wasn't the SWAC office represented at the press conference? I mean, and I guess and I want to know, Jeff. And are we asking for too much?
No.
Okay. Is it asking for too much to ask? Why wasn't the SWAC?
Well, I think you're asking too much for them to fess up what happened, because that's not going to happen. It's not too much to ask for.
You think it's too much to ask for a comment or a statement or something to explain why? You don't think that's necessary?
I think it is, but I don't think they do.
Well,
transparency and accountability apparently is not two of the key.
Well, you know what?
Administration.
I'm telling you, it's time to turn up the heat on this, because the SWAC Council of Presidents, the way I see it, Duer will try to get. Well, I'm not going to say try. Duer will get away with whatever you allow him to get away with, and people asked. This was one of those topics that came up on Facebook, and someone asked the question, well, why is Duer still there? And the only logical explanation that I could come up with was because of the carousel of HBCU presidents, and in this case SWAC presidents, coming and going. They have to be more concerned about making sure that the doors to the school stay open.
Yeah. So he's
that's first and foremost, especially when right.
A lot of oversight. Probably.
And I say this respectfully. They have more important things to be. Or should I say, if you got to prioritize things between campus business and educating the students who attend there and making sure the doors stay open, and making sure that certain programs maintain their accreditation, as opposed to the ins and outs and the day-to-day, week-to-week activities of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Yeah, you got to go over to school. I get that. But
I got an idea. Maybe it should. I know they got the council of presidents. Maybe the Duer Sharp should be have oversight. Should be the athletic directors, and maybe take that off the table. The president.
You know. Look, the ADs meet. They meet periodically. They meet 2 times a year for spring and winter meetings.
Right.
You know. So these things are discussed. You know, I'm guessing feedback obviously comes from those from the ADs as well as the SWAs and the presidents and so forth. But my thing is that you have too many presidents coming in and out to be at the school long enough to be concerned about, unless it's just a pressing issue that requires their immediate attention. This is what you get. And I don't want this to be about, this is just us wanting to dump on Duer, because everything that Duer Sharp has done, and it hasn't been bad. I think he's done, for the most part, a fairly decent job in whether, getting title sponsors for the basketball and football championships and all of the other sports that are out there. Let's face it, first and foremost, a commissioner's first, primary responsibility is to make money for the conference.
Right.
It's to help make money for the conference and, of course, the member schools to do whatever it is possible to make them profitable. That's fine. But then it's little stuff like this, allowing conference members to schedule non-conference games against each other. That's not going to count in the conference standings. It's not showing up to a signature event such as the Celebration Bowl press conference. Those are the little things, but you know what? And then you say, well, I advise.
But Ken, they're not really little things. They're not little.
Well,
things.
no. You're right. They're not little things, because they're happening too often. But the thing is that there are things that you would think would be routine. This is something that and I say this. There are few instances where the fans actually know more than the commissioners or the ADs. Well, guess what? This is one of those times. Majority of the fans understand that it makes no sense, and that for those of us who actually give a damn about the image of the conference and who give a damn about the image of the members schools within the conference, who don't want to face unnecessary embarrassment or scrutiny from outside conferences and schools and outlets talking about what the hell is the SWAC doing scheduling a non-conference game between 2 conference members. What sense does that make? It's little stuff like that. And then you say, well, we couldn't do anything about it. Or you tell folks, well, I advise that they not do it. But, I couldn't really do anything about them making their schedules. But you have no problem issuing reprimands for damn bands playing during game time. You send out a statement reprimanding the damn bands for playing which is a legit issue, by the way. But, you'll find those schools for, well, the bands played, and you issue a public statement, a reprimand, or whatever the case may be. You'll find players or you'll find coaches for wearing for gear that doesn't have Russell Athletic logo, the Russell Athletic logo. You can do all of that. But you mean to tell me you can't advise, or you can't say you can't schedule non-conference games against conference member schools? What sense does that make? So I want you guys to just think about that for a moment.
It's not sensible at all.
No, it's not sensible. And look, and again, to the SWAC office, look, man, I'm here. I know you don't like me. That's fine. But damn it, no. But what I'm saying is, look, let us know. Why weren't you at the conference? At the press conference. Why is it that you can impose fines and you can do all these other things when it comes to folks not wearing Russell Athletic apparel, as opposed to wearing Nike, Adidas? And I've heard those stories. Oh, Duer's going to find us. Duer's going to find us. We can't wear this. It's got a Nike logo on it, or it's got an Adidas logo on it. We have to wear something with the Russell brand. I've heard those stories. And you can issue reprimands about the bands playing while the quarterback is under center. I've heard those stories. We've seen this happen. And you can do all of this, but you mean to tell me you can't impose some sort of policy that prevents SWAC schools from scheduling other conference members for non-conference games? And I guess the sad part is that, the presidents allow it to happen. And the ADs don't seem to give a damn. They don't care, because look, they're scheduling games against the non-conference games against conference opponents. So, talk to me, SWAC.
It's a bad situation, Ken. It's a bad situation. It doesn't look good on any level. From the presidents to the ADs to Duer Sharp there's enough blame to go around. To spread the blame to many people, and the ones that's going to feel it are going to be the fans. They're going to be the programs themselves, and the fans are going to feel it. They're going to be perplexed and not understanding what's going on and why this is happening, why this is the case, and it's going to affect them more than anybody.
Yeah, a couple other things that we probably would need to address that we haven't. So let's get off of. I guess that's enough for Duer, huh?
I think you have done Duer enough.
Oh, stop! Don't do that. Kenn does Duer. Don't do that.
There you go. Oh no!
Stop it. Anyway, let's see. A couple of interesting tidbits before we call it a wrap. North Carolina Central's Jerry Mack. Congratulations to Jerry Mack, who was chosen as American Football Coaches Association Regional Coach of the Year. Look, that's no surprise.
Well, a well-earned honor.
Without question.
He's a young coach, 36 years old. He's turned that program around pretty quickly. They're playing good ball, and all his hard work is paid off now. They got a chance to win the Black College Championship come a week from tomorrow.
Yep. Let me see. There was also news about Devontae Kincaid, who won the Big Ben HBCU Football Award. Congratulations to Devontae Kincaid. And Big Ben Award, that's given by my man Kenyatta Cavill. That is an award, and I hope I'm doing it justice, Kenyatta, so forgive me if I screw up. But that is an award that is given to the best HBCU football player who either is from or plays within the state of Texas. And
it's named after former Wiley College All-American, I believe.
Yeah, you know what? I know Kenyatta. Kenyatta got like, Kenyatta comes from like football royalty. He's got like,
right.
I think he had people that played at Baylor and right. Oklahoma and Wiley and PV and. I don't know if Kenyatta actually played himself. I don't recall any stories of him on the gridiron unless he played in high school or something. But he got that. I think he's got relatives. I think he told me the story. I mean, he's got all kinds of people playing who played back in the past. So kudos to him for presenting the award, and again, congratulations to Devontae Kincaid for winning the award. And then Winston-Salem State. Now this is a surprise. Winston-Salem State edged out Tuskegee.
Yeah, that was a little shocking.
In the final HSRN Division II poll. Now, the reason why
the numbers there, Tuskegee had more first place votes.
Yeah, right.
Votes.
Right.
Really close, like I
voted in the HSRN poll, but I was surprised because you look at the fact that, and I guess it came down to the fact that both teams. Let's see who won. Was it
Tuskegee won one playoff game,
right? And Winston-Salem lost to Long Island Post, right?
Correct.
And I guess
Tuskegee beat Newberry.
Right. And then they lost to North Greenville.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And so. I found that kind of surprising that they were, despite the success that Tuskegee had in the postseason, that Winston-Salem State was still able to win it all in the final poll. So kudos to them. And
I just wonder when was that poll taken? I probably should have looked it up and see.
Well,
could it have been taken before the playoffs? I don't know.
Well, no, the voting was we usually get the votes on like Friday, and actually they come out that Monday. The deadline is like Monday, and that poll typically comes out the next day. So my point is that it was well after the games. The voters were aware of what the results of the games were. Before they voted, which is why I find it so surprising that Winston-Salem actually edged Tuskegee, because I
think Virginia State came in. Third.
No. Virginia State came in third. Yeah, it was
the previous week.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago, in the final game of the season.
Right. Winston-Salem first, Tuskegee second, Virginia State third, Bowie State fourth. Those are the top four. Yeah. And again, don't necessarily have a problem with those teams doing that. But but 1 and 2, I take just a tad bit of issue with that selection, and so that was something. And then one last note: there's been a lot of talk and discussion about the ratings for the Bayou Classic and the SWAC Championship Game, and I don't recall what the numbers were, but I believe the SWAC Championship Game drew something like was it a 1.5, if that? Yeah. It was very low. But you brought up a good point, Ken. That's something people don't. These are Nielsen ratings. These are strictly TV household ratings. So many people today watch their sports in different ways, whether they DVR it, whether they watch it on a phone or a tablet or online. So, and that doesn't tally into what Nielsen gives out. So Nielsen is kind of a dinosaur. They're probably in their final stages of before extinction, right?
Just because of the viewing habits of the American resident now. It's so different than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Hey, I didn't do it justice. I said the Bayou Classic got a 1.5. No, it actually got a 0.1.
Okay.
Okay. It was this was tweeted out. The Grambling Southern Bayou Classic had a 0.1 final rating. And 200,000 viewers on NBCSN for that game, and flattened ratings and up a third in viewership from the previous year, but really? down 86% and 81% respectively from 2014, and that was the last time that the event aired on NBC. So
I expected, because it's on NBCS, which is strictly cable. They have their own web channel. You can look at it on a smart TV off the web. So you're not really. It's just a whole different way of people view things now, as I just said. So I wouldn't be too concerned about those numbers.
Right.
Right.
Well, and then one quick note that the Bayou Classic, despite its low ratings, the Bayou Classic did outperform 4 college football games on Nielsen. On Nielsen Networks last weekend. So that's where the numbers become skewed. I'm guessing maybe those games were FCS playoff games or something like that. So say what you will about the Bayou Classic moving from NBC to NBCSN, but like you said, there are a lot of dynamics and intangibles about that game that that you have to consider in terms of folks not necessarily just viewing this in the traditional sense, and that they're actually using apps and so forth to watch those games. So anyway, Jeff Duplessis, sir, that is a wrap. Man, that went by fast, didn't it? Anyway.
Yeah, it was. That was a quick. What was it? How long was it? An hour?
It was an hour, about an hour. But that's what happens when you get involved with discussions regarding the SWAC and
you give the business to Duer. So
okay, all right. Anyway, we want to thank you all for taking a moment to listen to us do what we do. If you would, again, this is a donation-based podcast. We ask that you please take a moment to go by HBCU Sports /podcast. And you will see the donation button there. Please take a moment to donate a few dollars to the cause. It will go a long ways in helping us support the podcast, and hopefully being able to expand and broaden the horizons of what we do. And hopefully we can even get some guests on here from time to time. So, but we take baby steps. We are a work in progress. But nevertheless, I am Kenn Rashad. Jeff, thank you, sir, for taking a moment to.
Glad to be here again, and I look forward to next week, because it's going to be the preview for the
Celebration Bowl, baby.
Celebration Bowl.
Yes, sir. So, hey, guys, look, join us on Twitter. Make sure you go to Spreaker.com to follow us. Look, I gotta hurry and get out of here, man. I gotta pick my kids up. But anyway. Make sure you join us next week for the HBCU Sports Podcast. I'm Kenn Rashad. He's Jeff Duplessis, and we are out. See you next time.
See ya.